Like, it's a bit better for both of them.
We've seen, I think, a lot of momentum splits this turn, haven't we?
Yeah.
Just a lot of comebacks. But hey, whenever the splits happen, it may as well be in split.
I think every single one of us at this point has made that joke once. Like, it's hard to resist making that joke. Capitao is the first one removed from this coastline, and obviously I said it's a bit better for both. Let me rephrase that. It's a good map for both of them, but Luminosity, I would say, they need to bring themselves to this fight.
I like that target ban from SSG. This was an operator that Luminosity will happily play whenever they need to. Slash can easily play the line. We've already seen that featured over the tournament, so definitely an operator that is being well sought out there by SSG, being able to realize, hey, they're actually pretty good with this, and it is coastline, a very fragger-heavy map. We don't really want to give them that, do we?
No, and that's the thing, is when he starts to light up, as we saw him do a little bit previously, he can really just turn the tide of an entire game. It took the well-seasoned teamwork of SSG to be able to stop that flow, and from then on, I guess, well, we're seeing where they can go with it. Luminosity starting on the defense on coastline, not the biggest factor in the world because it's a much more kind of aggressive map. It's one that can be balanced between the pair. With this selection of bans, the Vigil is a target removal against Canadian, and they're not going to allow him to be able to manipulate and move around the map as much as he was previously, but at the same time, you know, it's still an aggressive lineup for both teams here.
So, Luminosity, they get their defense first, just like, of course, we've seen on Clubhouse. This is going to be Luminosity's pick, though, so keep that in mind. And this is, honestly, one of Luminosity's best maps that they have, and it kind of suits their playstyle, a lot of aggression, and really relies on how many kills you can get over the whole strategic thing that kind of went down. Of course, we've already seen Spacestation play this against Empire earlier, and it was a 7-8. Was up there, certainly, but still, though, I think the way SSG play with their set tactics, it is a much different change of pace that they kind of have to adapt to, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things as well, is because this map is so much smaller than Clubhouse, it's much more kind of, it plays into that
It's just a square.
It's a danger donut.
It's a square donut.
Yeah, I like to call it the danger donut, because every bit of it is dangerous.
Is there such thing as a square donut with a hole in the middle?
I'm sure somewhere. I mean, it's not the most far-fetched thing you've ever asked if it existed on stream. It's kind of standard.
Wait, you tell me I've asked for crazier stuff?
Then a square donut with a hole in. Yes.
Ella shotgun ACOG.
Yes, Demo, you have. Faults on the Ash is looking to try and add some pace to this. There was a sick pick off of an IQ, and I think in a weird way kind of thankful that Luminosity sick pick off of a Pulse, because I was a little bit confused about that decision at first, and then in a weird way Luminosity played into it. Yeah, you've obviously still got the Mozzie that might cause a problem. Valkyrie's banned, which is a big ban and a particular kind of standard ban for this map, but being able to read the Pulse would have been pretty good for the IQ. However, both have been taken off in a sick-pick combination as SSG have opted for a bit more pace, which is probably going to play into their favor here.
So Luminosity having a bit of a spread in towards the basement. The basement, just the bottom floor. There's only 2 floors here. What am I talking about? No, but still in towards that bottom floor. That's where they're going to try and play one man. Does have a C4. Bosco, the MK14, hits Factor right on the head, and that's the Maestro gone. A big kill, and well, we know how strong that LMG can be for holding down that particular hookah door. And here comes the first logic bomb. Rexon has to be careful, can't really turn it off, and has to run down the timer. Getting pressured heavily by Faults again. Another player who has had a great tournament so far, in my eyes anyway. And there's Rampy again, the Wonder Kid, as I've so dubbed him for this team, and he still reigns on through. The C8 lands it, shots, and another one. Luminosity, they're feeding him already.
Yeah, and there is Faults using the ability to dispatch of Rexon. Just one left, and it's Doodle who gets one on the far side. It's the Diffuser Carrier too, but that just gives away the game, gives away the position, and gives SSG the opening to this map they wanted. That is now, if you include the others, 7 rounds in a row. They haven't seemed to have slowed down at all.
I think overall for Luminosity there in their defense, they were just too spread out in terms of what they were trying to achieve. Yes, we've seen teams try and utilize the C4 capabilities. I would have liked to have seen them try and play a little bit more passive and then go for some late rotates, because that's like the real killer, is if you manage to rotate down the hatches. And there's a few hatches in towards that hookah and billiards, and not only that, you have like an automatic rotation in through the courtyard jump outs, don't you?
Yeah, and that's the thing about that central kind of corridor, is it become a really, really good point of
just
rotation.
A big hatch.
Yeah, it's a big old hatch. However, Canadian was there quite late in the game. They waited until they'd dispatched 4 of them before they dropped Canadian in on the far side, and yeah, Doodle kind of picked that off, but from that point onwards, they knew where you were. You're either going to be an Aqua, where they have the option to get you straight across the giant hatch in the central of the donut.
Are we actually going to call it the giant hatch in the donut?
It's the giant donut or the giant hatch.
The giant hatch.
Imagine if they drop an operator that can
you can reinforce an entire rooftop.
That's the castle buff we need.
Castle can castle that.
Or a trampoline operator.
To be fair, I would have liked to have seen those windows on the courtyard be barricadable.
That would have been an interesting swing.
Because you could put castles there.
Yeah, and that can kind of make holding onto the back of Hookah a little bit more viable.
Definitely.
But even then, you know, with the amount
spitball those ideas, shall we?
Was that Bolo's idea?
I think that, you know, you look at Castle as an operator, very underwhelming for the most part. Like, what he does is that he makes a window, you can't shoot through it. But look how many operators have a way of dealing with a castle barricade. Technically, every operator can deal with it just by meleeing it, but you know, you look at it, and on the surface, I think that Castle still needs to try and have like another use for what he's kind of doing.
I agree with you, but I also just like the description of Castle is just a guy that makes a window, you can't shoot through it. And I really want like that
well,
kind...
that's it. He's an original operator, isn't he?
But I want that kind of like bad description for every operator.
I'll run it.
No, I want Twitch chat. If you can come up with bad...
Smoke stops you from walking through a door.
Bad description. Smoke does war crimes. Bad description for operator.
Yeah, get it going, chat. Chat, give us your best bad descriptions of operators. So pretty much what they do, but in the most basic and bad way you can describe it.
Right. 2 minutes on the board, everybody is still standing. This isn't the most out there thing for SSG. They often have quite a slow time to kill, time to get the first blood. Rexon and Hyena on the far side of the map are trying to keep a bit of width to this and trying to keep some control. Obviously, it was some pretty big beastly heroics from Rampy inside Sunrise that got himself the triple previously, and it doesn't look like they want to immediately contest that. They're going to let the timer tick down, the old-fashioned enemy of SSG before they strike, and I think that's a much smarter move than trying to find the firefight. There's not as much space as there is on Clubhouse, but you can still make it work.
Hyena does make it work. A kill on defaults below, but Bosco has the refrag onto Rex, and that was over towards the kitchen window, and Rampy, another swing back kill. Hyena goes down, and SSG, they have been so dominant in actually pressuring in towards this Hookah side, and there goes the air jab, quickly sweeped around and factor on the last bullet he had there before he switched to his Berry 9 and still going at it. Factor, he's unstoppable, tearing SSG for all they're worth, and now Canadian has to make it happen. Almost had that flick onto Doodle, but no, he stands firm, he stands tall. 1-1 we go.
Well, a really, really good response there for them to be able to bring that back into their favor. As I said, they found a little bit of space, a little bit of time, and they were able to strike with that because, yes, SSG, they like to be comfortable. They like to set themselves up, and they like to kind of utilize that. But if they get too comfortable, Luminosity are a team that can strike against that. They can find more advantages in a situation where a lot of other teams can't. We saw it more obviously against Secret when it became this kind of consistent frag match that went the distance. Against a team like SSG that plays a little bit more slow, a little bit more set up than what Secret do, that is where they can really make their mark against this and really bring themselves back in on this second map. Heading now to the kitchen hold. They've got the angle, they've got the mirror, they've got the Mozzie and the Maestro. They've got a huge amount of information.
So Mira being allowed is pretty interesting for the most part.
It's rare for us to see that, especially in EU, where she is a consistent ban. But you've got to think that she allows at least Penthouse to become closer to a viable spot, in that you can kind of hold it without needing to be in that room at all and suffering the absolute barrage that you otherwise would. But there's this traditional one behind the B bomb chassis looking down the corridor, which it looks like Slash is about to set up here. Yep, gonna let Factor put up the hard wall. You add a rotation down just to the bottom left, which gives you the cover via the bomb chassis too.
I just find it funny that both teams have target banned an operator from one another.
They know each other.
And, it's like, and also, whenever Vigil is technically a hard counter to Lion, and Lion's been banned, Vigil still goes.
Yeah, and I think the thing about the Vigil ban is okay, Canadian was doing...
Yeah, it's a target ban.
We're going to get Canadian out of this. And I think that shows the threat that Canadian can have, because even though it took him to the turn of the half to actually start to find bodies, he was so good at it that they've then target banned him on the next map.
Very rare we ever see an instance where Mira, Maestro, and Echo are all available. Only in NA.
I mean, yeah, it's fair. They're not too worried about that long information game. They're bringing a lot of Mozzie, which I think suits this map really well.
Yeah, you think you have the destructibility of the shotgun, so you can open up rotations for your heavy roam games. The C4 is always going to be a bonus, and some great guns to boot. So, Space Station, they're trying to take control of upstairs, and very swiftly, Luminosity have tried to take some men downstairs, and Fultz outside of Lamborghini doorway, trying to hold the flank, but he hasn't opened up the doorway, which is quite strange. Typically, you would like to see that open. Rampy still on one today, and does eliminate Hyena. Back again, looking for the MK, has the pistol out, and Rex in such low HP, but the crossfire is there from Fultz. He came in through, I think, the window there, and still hunting for one more, but Factor has the pre-fire available, lands the headshot, and SSG, even though they lose Fultz, they still have that lead.
Well, they're setting themselves up now to try and actually collapse, but Slash from underneath isn't going to allow Bosco to get any closer. Canadian has dropped down towards the main entrance, going to try and apply some flat pressure here along the long corridor, but that corridor is consistently watched and monitored by not only a Maestro cam, but a man behind the mirror. Nade, in the meantime, is going to try and get a bit more control on the backside of this, maybe hit underneath Hookah, but with only 40 seconds left, there's only so much Rampy can do from above. He has to have his team make their movements underneath count, because if one of those goes down, he's got a lot of rotation to do and not a lot of time to do it.
SSG perhaps switching up their strategies. It looked to be a very heavy kind of vertical play, and instead of rotating in towards Sunrise. And honestly, Factor's lucky enough to get out of there, and he's in the prime position. He can hold on everything that goes down on Blue. Slash onto Rampy. Canadian wins that somehow, but there goes the Toxic Babe. Canadian rushing through in towards Reception. With all the shots, Slash has the turnaround. Quad kill for Slash. Still, this guy, what can we say about him? Describe him in one word.
One word? Man, that's not enough words. That's not enough words to describe what Slash has done. I need more words. I need a whole book. I need a thesaurus of descriptions of how aggressive he can be, how worth the trade and the money he was to bring into this lineup, and just how far they can go. Because this is the day one that we're seeing. Yes, they scrim and they practice together. I know that. But this is the first time they're in this stressed comp environment, and he is showing up in such a good way for them, with all of his experience, with all of his kind of history. This is only going to be something that improves the rest of Luminosity and brings them together. The one word I want to put to it is the future. And just future. Take the
That's two words, by the way.
The future.
Yeah, the future.
The future. There's a hyphen there. Either way, the point still stands. because that is what we're going to see Luminosity growing into. 2-1 we are in now. They have found themselves, for the first time in a very long time, back in the lead across these two maps, and they need to capitalize upon it. In the previous round, an old enemy of SSG seemed to rear their ugly head, which was that clock. The timer started ticking, and with only 15 seconds left, they were still trying to clear their way from Sunrise. It's an issue for SSG. It's an issue that seems to plague them between big map or small map, having the confidence to do those kind of quicker, aggressive pushes.
Yeah, they kind of hit that panic button, didn't they? They realized that the whole kitchen trying to take in towards reception, there was a lot of bodies in towards that area. They realized, can't really push that with the amount of time we have. We have to just try and swing around in towards Sunrise and hope that kitchen is an option, but no, smoke is always a threat whenever you're a team that plays against the clock. And for SSG, they just kind of fell apart. But now they have to attack the blue bar. I haven't seen this yet from both of these teams in this matchup. And curious to see how SSG will try and take it apart. So there is an upstairs hold from Luminosity, which is kind of expected, especially over Space Station are always bringing that back where they can utilize the vertical control. They can use the skeleton key. And I'm sure that's probably the main goal for SSG at the moment.
Rampy clearing via luggage and making sure they have this top control. They need to get that Buck in a position where he can cause more problems quickly. And, well, so far, Hyena, Rexon, and Slash not too far away. And Cool Vibes are going to be what they need to dig out first. No pressure from Hookah Balcony as of yet. Concerned about the stairs, and usually you'll see at least one body, sometimes two, to be able to do it, but the calls are going to come out, and they're going to force the players of Luminosity just a little bit further back towards the bars below.
So SSG will use some of their Habana pellets in towards the quad wall. So this is kind of what we expect of like a top floor attack if you are attacking the Hookah and Billards. But since it is kind of playing out similar, this is what we see a lot from these kind of bomb sites that are vertical from one another. You attack it the exact same way, and Rampy fires in a nade and doesn't catch Rexon. And Jaeger getting killed by an ADS, or getting killed by a nade without an ADS is always a little bit confusing. Rampy TK's fault, but makes up for it nonetheless. So even though it says double kills, he still got free.
Yeah, he's got 2 grenade kills this time around. Never a thing that you ever want to see, but hey, it happens, unfortunately, quite a lot. Holding the bottom of the stairs with the shotgun, we've seen Luminosity do this kind of play, especially Doodle. It's one that he does very well. The tight angles and the position to be able to lock it down. But against thinking nade from range, that shotgun is only going to do so much. Factor is going to hide behind the chassis and try and utilize the Alder for these big range firefights, but with only 10 seconds, they're going to have to hot drop and going to have to try and get this diffuser down. They know it's going in on the other point. They are worried about the cross angles, but it's the bodies inside the blue bar that are going to be the end for the Maestro.
So Space Station being able to tear apart that top floor hold, and I think just overall for Luminosity, not having those trades, those kind of crossfires, the refrags for them was a bit of a blunder. You know, you're leaving your Jaeger by himself, the quad wall gets opened, which, granted, I think that was a smart play from SSG to really put him under pressure. But, I don't know, just Luminosity, again, lacking those kind of refrags, a similar plague that affected them during their time in Clubhouse.
Yeah, I mean, it's those situations where we can kind of talk about what works really well for Luminosity is the aggression, is the malleability, and they do throw 1 or 2 operators together in those situations, and they do collapse back to point, sometimes prematurely, but often with a really, really good idea of, well, we have a bit of an advantage, let's pull back. As we saw yesterday, they did a lot in the secret game. Neither of these NA teams were really able to play to their full capabilities against the Latin America teams earlier on today. But so far, SSG, who are very calm, very coordinated at controlling the space, they're able to use those moments where Luminosity like to pull back as the moments to strike, as the moments to separate a pack that might have been set up. SSG, on the other hand, they are consistently a trade unit. They're consistently in situations where, unless they're in a 4 versus 1, as we saw, a 5 versus 1, and they do separate sometimes, on their push, they are usually always together.
10 seconds left before insertion.
So we move in towards our next bomb site. Again, towards that top floor, that hookah. Luminosity. They've played this twice, they've lost it once and also won it. So previously in that first round, they had a very heavy kind of C4 roam game in towards the bottom floor, and SSG, they read it very well. Rampy again still being that menace that Luminosity can't deal with. And then equally, whenever we kind of seen the flip side of the second time, it was simply down to an amazing play from Factor. Really stepping up, and even for periods of that round, in that second round, it looked as if SSG were just going to do the same thing, but just an individual performance can be the game changer.
Well, they're starting their aggression here against the many sides and drop-downs of Coastline. As we said, it's a very quick map when you come into those executes and come into those situations. But SSG are generally a slower-paced team compared to a lot of the younger, more aggressive guns inside NA, like the ones in the hands of Luminosity. So it becomes this balance of how much are you trying to get control of before you finally find your way inside. Rampy hasn't had those limitations. Consistently, he is in the building, he's bucking through floors and finding his way through the sheer souls of the Luminosity players. Canadian, on the other hand, and great observing to cut to him as I meant to make the point, waits with the diffuser, lets the rest of SSG get control before he starts to push. We saw it, obviously, as they dropped from the roof. The first time we were on this point, we saw him outside on the kitchen point coming in when things were going well or worse. He is the late push here. And it is down to the other boys to get control of this map before the Canadian red carpet has been rolled out.
Spacestation, for the past 2 rounds on their hookah attacks, have always looked to pressure towards the B bomb site. This time they're going for the more standard and typical A bomb site, pushing in from Aquarium. Advantages, disadvantages of going for a different strategy in towards that A bomb site would probably be advantages. I think taking Aquarium is very easy for attackers. Nades in behind the Aquarium bar is very simple to deal with, and also you can create an opening angle from the VIP. Unfortunately for SSG, they don't have a banner, so they can't create those angles that would sanction off everything on the A bomb site. You have that cutoff similar to what we've seen in Clubhouse, where you would open up that CCTV wall, and it basically limits your options.
Well, here comes the push, and Fultz finds Hyena, but Doodle and Factor with 2 instant responses of their own. More canisters, more smoke, and more close firefights come in here as Nade tries to charge through, but it's Fultz and Canadian and almost Fultz again to find some of their own. Nade is on the floor, as is Rex, and it is all down to the Slashug below, and he is a player that is more than capable of pulling this off as he shepherds the first man away, able to get Rexon up. They're going to let the diffuser get planted in this situation. It's a wise move in a lot of people's playbooks, but there goes Rexon. The move may not have paid off. Finds one body down. The diffuser finds the floor too. The health of everybody maybe equals 50 across the board, and it is going to come down to reflexes and aggression.
It's here for Slash. Has to make it happen. A constant ping goes below. See if he can go for the floor. Bang, and very swiftly we see Thinking Aid move away, and surely that has to be it. Slash doesn't have the time, I don't think, to try and get both kills, and just the crossfire. SSG so patient in waiting. A nice angle. Spacestation. A big cluster of around there that we didn't really know which way it was going, but still SSG, they persevere, and still, I think, for Luminosity, another round that probably should have been theirs whenever you look at the positionings, and just some missed shots again.
Slash so almost pulled that together from underneath it as well. Rexon, as we talked about, he's a big frag player, but he's not quite been able to find his way into this game.
What's the kills looking like so far? What are we on?
And, and you just kind of think of those moments, there it is. And it's an unfortunate thing to see. For a player that can have this capabilities, can be a great Jaeger, can find bodies and disrupt, cannot do anything.
So I think he only had, like, what, 2 kills in Clubhouse as well? I think so.
I guess we'll find out.
I'm pretty sure it's 2 kills in Clubhouse, because he got the 1 kill whenever he was like on the cusp of going like 0 and 7, and then in the final round where he jumped and killed the Maestro in the bed, and that was like the only 2 kills I think he got.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunate. It's everybody always has good games, bad games, whether it's down to what the opponents are bringing or it's just what you're bringing in your own head and hands that day. Sometimes things just don't land the way you want to. In a way, it kind of ties into what we were saying about Canadian earlier. Sometimes he has these games where he's phenomenal. His positioning, his game sense, his just control of the space, and where he seems to know that everybody and what they're doing, what they had for lunch and why they're trying to kill him works so well. Other games, he seems a bit lost in the sauce. He seems a little bit spaced. And pardon the pun for a space station team, it's just, those are the kind of play days that you work out with practice, time, and you know these guys are going to go back and look at this and go, well, what can we try and grow from this?
One thing you have to keep in mind, though, is that Coastline is attacker-sided. There will still be that split, similar to what we've seen from like SSG. You know, a 4-2 split, they went down, then they got on the better half of the stick. And what happened? Completely revitalized. Who's to say that Luminosity can't do the same on an attacking standpoint?
Well, we'll see if they can come up with a response here. A C4 swings and a misses as Slash tries to hit some early aggression, but Norm was on the close wall. Instead, looking for a long-range firefight with an SMG that is hard to well, easy to shoot, but hard to master. Rampy, in the meantime, is not going to take it from the side that Slash wants to. Instead, going to apply a little bit more pressure from the opposite as Fultz applies some of his own, taking care of Factor on the service side, and he's going to rotate, making all of the water that Slash is boiling in hotter and hotter. Every second more of this space station collapses around him.
I really don't like Luminosity in their setup. They're so spaced out. There has been very little retrades from LG this entire series. I really question why they have people scattered around so freely. Look, Slash by himself inside of Sunrise. Nobody's there for the refrag. Rexon, I don't even know anymore. And SSG just taking full advantage. Really disappointing here from Luminosity.
Hyena tries to put some of the blood, well, back against them and takes care of Canadian, who is creeping up the staircase there. The LMG on that door can be a big nightmare for any team that stumbles, and SSG have a lot of ground to work with. They've still got double the bodies, and they've still got over a minute on the board. The only thing they don't currently have is the diffuser, but it's not the most pressing concern. Rampy with the butt can cause some problems underneath, as can Fultz, and we're going to start to see that in action now as they dig against the door and force the Maestro further away so they can recollect the diffuser and recollect some space on the room. Doodle is up and running around, and no, Maestro is no longer as he throws the gas canisters, tries to control some of the space, but space is all in Space Station's game, and they find themselves 4-2 on the split.
So, last time on Clubhouse, we've seen a 4-2 split for Luminosity whenever they were on the defense. This time, a 4-2 split for SSG on the attack. Again, I think it comes back to Coastline, attacker favored.
I think as well, it's worth saying SSG are playing very, very well. And Luminosity, they have moments and they have these individual plays that are coming out, but in the same way, it reminds me of the secret we saw yesterday, where they weren't quite pulling it off as a unit. They're not quite able to make it gel as fervently and kind of consistently as they can possibly do. Obviously, it's hard to overlook the fact that their main fragger, their Ash Jaeger main, is sitting on 0 kills. But at the same time, that's down to how well SSG are playing, because we see them collapse and close down consistently. They cover every angle, every exit, and as you pointed out, Luminosity go with a bit of a wide defense here. They throw people on the opposite side of the map, and for a team like SSG that are very good at clearing on any map, but on the bigger maps they struggle for time, on a smaller map like this, and they have much less to clear, it's hard to play that game against them.
Luminosity in their lineup. Ash, Jackal, Twitch, Sophia, IQ. A lot of very fast, aggressive operators. Some very strong guns there. You're bringing the R4C, the C7E, and the F2. Probably, what, the 3 most strongest attacker weapons, I think?
Yeah, I mean, they're a collection of guns that you always fear to see in the hands of a lot of players. And as we said, Luminosity are fantastic aggressive gunners. They're so good at finding firefights and just taking just these one-on-ones, these 2v1s, and just tearing their way through a team. And it's going to be, you know, down to SSG's teamwork to be able to counter that play.
Kitchen is straight off the rip for SSG, and Factor first blood. Fultz, who tried to run back into bomb site, and I think that was perhaps just him trying to peek actually and try and get something else on the board, and two of them flood on in, so they've predicted Luminosity and this fast aggressive gameplay. Shots rattle back and forth. Busco behind the shield, and Rexon tried to get something. He finally gets some kills, but it doesn't matter if you lose the round.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Rexon got his first 2 kills of the game, and one of them was a teammate. I think it's not his day, is a fair statement.
That was a quick round there, wasn't it?
It was a quick round. And I think, that's something that we're going to see from Luminosity a bit, and it shows that SSG have done their homework, because they were well prepared for not only a quick push, but a quick split push as well. They had the guns on the main window, they had the guns on the main door, they had the shotgun behind the reinforced shield, which not a lot of teams do. They usually play that as a bit of a longer angle, especially when Mira, Maestro, and Echo are still on the board. They knew that Luminosity wanted to play it like that.
You looked at SSG. The way that two of them came back into the bomb site, as soon as they know Luminosity, we know Luminosity. Whenever they get a very early opening pick, they will try and rush the objective, especially if they know it's an anchor. That's your Maestro. You know they're roaming. You know there's going to be 2 guys in sight at most. A 5v2, you expect to win that. And as soon as that Maestro hit the floor, straight away, we've seen the rotation from the Legion and the Castle back into the bomb site, gave themselves that man advantage back into their favor. Really read well by Spacestation overall. I think that's probably the most impressive thing I think we've seen from SSG.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing about them is we talked about their defenses on Clubhouse. Their defenses, in general, are their strong suit. They are so good at setting them up, so good at just controlling the time and the space when they have the favor of them being tested. The tests they come up with are hard, confusing, and full of algebra, which nobody understands. Apart from them, apart from their ability to have that grasp across everything they need. Thinking Nade is holding a bullet hole angle against the kitchen window. In the meantime, Rampy is just firing bullets through Lamborghini door. And, well, let's see if Luminosity can find some way to pop against what is an unrelenting force of the guns of Space Station.
Space Station have an extension in towards that master bed side of things, which is strange typically for a blue bar defense. But if they want to try and play one man by himself just to go big or go home, then sure, that's the strategy that I'm okay with. They feel confident that Canadian can provide those kills, and who are we to judge? Luminosity coming in from the east side. Kitchen is what they have taken so far, and probably one of the best rooms that you can take control of for a blue bar, because not only does it give you your first staging ground, but it also shuts down a lot of the kind of connecting and crossing factors that you would have if you try and play in towards the blue stairs. Just eliminate so many factors. Slash, he goes down to Canadian, and Rexon again, just having possibly one of the worst performances I think we've seen from this young man, and just SSG hitting everything that they need to. Fultz wide swinging around. The pings come in from the Mozzie drone that Canadian has captured. A mirror window's been opened as well. Look, this is just Luminosity again. I don't know where they go from here.
Well, Doodle, who's actually had an okay showing today, is trying to put some bullets back on the opposite side, trying to draw attention to Sunrise so they can maybe get Rexon back on his feet. There's still Canadian up above, however, he has the information, the drone, and Rampy is finally going to have that kill swing in his favor. And in a 5-3, and they have vertical control across the entire map, and you've barely made your way inside. Well, Canadian isn't going to let you get any further. There is another one for a man that's so exceptional when he shows up.
SSG, defense, just a wall that Luminosity cannot break through whatsoever. Hyena tries to peer on through the off angle, being held by Thinking Aid on top of the plant pots, and Doodle. A 1v5. I don't think this is going to go anyway apart from an SSG round. Just standing in the open. Fultz is there, and is that the first flawless I think we've seen from SSG?
First flawless between these two teams, I believe, that we've seen so far. Every single game has usually been a little bit of a firefight, a little bit scrappy, but SSG, well, they have found themselves in a really, really good swing right now, and something that you know they're going to try and carry on and continue onto tomorrow. They're a team that we've often said they're really, really good in the group stages. They often finish first across group stages of competitions they find themselves in. And then it's the main stage where things start to get a little bit shaky. As we kind of saw earlier today, it looked like one of those oh no moments. But look at them now. They've been given a second breath, a second chance in the double elim format, and I really, really hope this is something we see swing and continue onto tomorrow. A 6-2, and I may be talking death bells here for Luminosity, but at this moment in time, SSG, they're just looking stronger and stronger.
Oh yeah, Luminosity, they're done.
That's a much harsher way of putting it. I'm trying to be gentle.
Am I wrong?
Sadly not, and Strafe has this one probably correct at this point because, as I said, SSG have just looked completely in control. Not only for this coastline, but obviously since the turn of the half of Clubhouse on the previous map. It has just been a team that is so coordinated, so competent, and, well, so likely to find themselves in the lower bracket final tomorrow morning.
Luminosity still going with a very aggressive lineup. Have the Doka be in, see if that can make a difference. Kind of like the annoyance factor, similar to line, of course, that being banned away by SSG, knowing that that's an operator that LG will gladly take into their lineup. And it will be the hooker. This is typically the most played defensive site all across the globe. But for SSG, they went for the kitchen, then the blue bar, and then now they get to have the hooker. And at this stage, whenever Luminosity look demoralized, they look in the gutter, just waiting for it to be over. It's probably the best bomb site you could ask for.
No, it's fair. It allows them a little bit more breathing room of it. It allows them a bit of a chance to kind of, you know, you're playing against what is often a default. You can play it in a way where you've got the annoyance factor, you've got some potential guns. They're not slowing down, it seems, whether they're disheartened or not. They still want to bring that Luminosity pace to this, and it's seeing if they can actually match the bullets with what they're trying to accomplish. Doodle droning ahead, and they're trying to learn anything they can about SSG, but SSG at this point have nothing they care to give away. Faults moves away from an open firefight. It's going to force Slash to have to come a little bit closer, and the man has been beyond words throughout this tournament, but unfortunately SSG have been beyond this planet.
A bomb has been located.
Minute 30. Luminosity, all down to yourselves. Factor, nade kill on the thinking nade, and there goes the logic bomb. Doodle has the F2 in hand. Where's he going to try and push in from? Goes below, picks up two. Twitch turns right beside each other, and Luminosity, well, there's a little bit of light at the end of a very long tunnel. Starts to appear. Some kills now show up in SSG. They're behind. It's the first time now in the defense they're going to have to go big on the clutches. A nade and a couple of shots being whiffed away by both sides in that engagement. Now Faults is down in towards that blue stairs. Bosco finished off by Rex and has the long angle of the ACOG and a 2v5. And this should be Luminosity be able to walk on in, get the diffuser down. Rampy does respond though with one kill, but still a lot of work to be done.
Fault is on a huge amount of damage here, and the calls and tracks are still coming aplomb. There's the swing, and there's the catch. Doodle, that should have been your kill, and now it's a 3-1. Rampy, it is down to you to end this now. You were beneath them. They have 3 bodies above. They're trying to plant in the smoke, and you're trying to stop them, but you can't quite make it connect the same way we saw happen before. A post-plant situation. Luminosity are not dead yet. They're setting themselves up to hold this from an angle, and Rampy is going to try and clear via the luggage aqua side. They have a crossfire here. They have every angle possibly covered and watched. It's a tight map, a tight doorway, whichever way you look at it. And it's just down to, well, Luminosity locking themselves, putting themselves another round away, but still 3 more to go.
1 round brought back for Luminosity. And now at this stage, Fluke, I worry for SSG, because they're prone to the old choke, aren't they?
Now you've said it, yeah, but otherwise, no. I think they've been too good. I think, you know, that was a round where things started to go wrong, sure. But I would like to think, and I don't want to be proved wrong about this, but I would like to think that they can keep this roll. Because as I said, they were at their best. Rampy 12-4 throughout this game. The continual finding and decimating of people. They're back to kitchen, which was a rush point from the sides of Luminosity, and it was a rush that SSG shut down with great skill. And, you know, I think they'll still pull this.
Kitchen is where we go with SSG. First time we've seen this being defended by SSG was back in their opening round in their defensive half. And, well, it was down to some great reading from SSG, being able to see that as soon as Luminosity get a very early pick onto an anchor operator, they try and force their way into the bombs. Like, they try and go for the rush. And SSG, they knew that was going to happen. They flooded back in. All their roamers came back to site, and they won their gunfights. Luminosity just got caught out there. Didn't expect SSG to be one step ahead of them. I'm curious now to see how Luminosity will kind of approach this. I doubt they'll go for another rush strategy because it didn't work last time. And honestly, if you look at it right now, nobody's in bomb site for Space Station. They are very spread out. Alibi is being brought to the table by Canadian, an operator that has seen, I think, very little play. I think I've seen her, what, like maybe 2-3 times this tournament?
Yeah, she's so particular in what you kind of want to do with her, and I think Canadian wants to cause problems on the opposite side of the map. He wants to be something where you've got to go find him, you've got to go clear him, and you've got to go kind of get Canadian out of what he likes to do. Usually on a vigil, sure, where he uses the drone hiding ability with great skill, and now it's with an alibi to try and again cause similar issues. I think still obviously could have done it on the Mozzie, but Faults needs it for other purposes, so I guess it's seeing how that otherwise comes together. Faults himself holding close on service, baiting and waiting for someone to drift a little bit too cautiously in front of him. Rexon is not playing that cautiousless game anymore, though. He's had too many deaths, unfortunately, and one accidental team kill, so he doesn't quite want to be caught out that easily.
So still just Faults on site, but Rampy is nearby to try and give some support, and I'm curious to see if Luminosity will realize that, hey, nobody's here. Could we potentially go for a rush? But then again, the setup for SSG playing in towards that reception, they have opened up the majority of all of the walls, so there is going to be no safe place to plant, and Faults, oh, he whiffs that C4. Got caught by the bars, and that's a bit of a blunder, but still Luminosity. They're slowly getting there, but the reception is going to be the next thing they need to get rid of. The alibi almost catching them out there, but still, Rexon knows that patience. I think now for Luminosity, yes, they have the upstairs control, but the vertical, it doesn't really help them whenever nobody's in the bomb site. Slash, first kill for himself in this round, and it will be Faults gone, so the only man who was in the bomb site, but here goes Bosco with a big LMG. Rexon also on the Canadian, got the other man in reception. Bosco still playing like his life depends on it. And Slash lets him get away for the meantime.
Well, they're going to throw the tracks down, but big work by Bosco there to stem the tide of all of the players of Luminosity screaming through that lobby. Rampy is not too far away either, but otherwise Luminosity might not know that he have as much control as they do. Hyena takes care of Nade as well. It's just a 4 versus 2 and a huge amount of damage either way. A 4 versus 1. All down to Bosco now to keep this on the side of them. No! Luminosity find themselves with another round, and it's looking less and less impossible from the dark depths of where they were 2 rounds previous.
Really peculiar strat from SSG. Leaving one guy on bomb site, opening up pretty much the entire quad wall of service entrance, and then the triple wall in towards the stock storage, and trying to hold it from reception. I don't know if I agree with that, because that double door in Lamborghini, accompanied by the main stairs, you can put anybody to rest who wants to play in there. Very, very strange. And like we know from Luminosity, they are quick. If they see an opportunity, they will take it.
And they did very, very well. This is the kind of fragging that I guess we expected to see a little bit earlier in the day from them. bringing guns that we've already commented as being maybe the most powerful selection of guns on attack in terms of raw fragging power. And it seems SSG, I mean, they're resting on their laurels a little bit. All of that compliments about how good they are at covering and coordinating seems to be falling away a little bit right now. They seem to have lost a bit of the wind in their sails. They're powering down a bit too early, so they still haven't made their final descent into the lower bracket finals. But we'll see if they can just... I mean, they've got 2 more chances to lock it out. In the same time, Luminosity have 2 chances to put it into OT, and then the possibility of map 3.
5 seconds to insertion.
Spacestation needs to close it out. And if they lose this round, well, then that's whenever the danger zone hits. That's where SSG could be, could slowly lose their grasp. It allows Luminosity to gain that momentum. And, well, really, this tournament has been a story of momentum. It's been all about who can pull back, how many rounds against whoever it is. And just for Luminosity, again, another very young team who has some excellent fraggers who perhaps not playing to the standard we expect them from. Rexon, if we have to be honest, has been that main man for Luminosity over the tournament, over yesterday. But in this match specifically, and even the match previous against Liquid, just non-existent.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a shame, but luckily the rest of the boys have started to show up. Doodle especially.
Yeah, he's had a great day today.
Well, he's had a great game.
Great game today, but maybe not Liquid.
Game
yeah.
Earlier on, he was a 0.48 rating, which is maybe one of the lowest we've had across the entire tournament. To see him come back from that straight off the back as well. They didn't get the break that SSG had between the games earlier today. They had to go straight, heated up into this, and well, he's done really, really good work to be able to pull himself back in. Bosco, talking of good work, finds 1, finds 2, Doodle! Taken out of orbit by Bosco, and Slash finds the trade.
Another C4 for North America, but even so, that's a C4 gone, and I think Luminosity, they've realized that, and they're trying to stick the plant, and they successfully done that. Rampy still killed the planter, but it is a post-plant. Hyena in towards the main lobby. Finds Canadian, 2v2. They have to hold on for much as they can, Hyena. Goes a massive, and Fultz now a 1v2. Slash has that long angle. Is he going to try and stick the diffuser? He is. It's taking down Slash. You have to jump onto this, and he does get it. Fultz, a nice attempt. But Luminosity, they make it happen.
Well, Luminosity. You know, I don't retract what I said earlier about it looking over, but I give you so much kudos and so much kind of just applause for being able to find yourself back into a game that did look as over. You looked completely blown aside, and that tiny little bit of you left has turned into an absolute blaze that is tearing back into this game. You are refusing to get out of this tournament, and I gotta give you all the credit in the world. A tactical timeout.
Oh, another tactical timeout that I think for both teams, this is where it gets serious. SSG are on the cusp of choking a 6-2 series point lead. And Luminosity, they have made a great comeback, but it's not done yet. They still have to make one more round for them to take it to OT and perhaps a chance to take it into the third map. And just everybody, as you can see, just chilling out. I think this is where the tensions, they have to stay cool, calm, and collected, and just talking things over. And there's Rexon. He's the man, of course, that we've talked about, who we expect to put on those performances. Of course, Slash on the other end of that, who has been literally the man for Luminosity. SSG, have to still talk about them and how well they've played. Rampy, for me, still that guy for Space Station that really take over. And even Fultz, I think, you know, whenever Fultz got picked up way back in June at the Allied Minor, you know, there's, oh, what's he going to do? Is he going to be kind of fitting in? I think at this stage, probably one of the best tournaments we've seen him playing.
Yeah, and that's the thing about SSG is obviously there's always the conversation about the NA Shuffle. There's always the jokes made, but this is such a strong lineup. And obviously they didn't make any recently. They're happy to keep learning, and as we said before and said yesterday, they've said themselves they are the strongest they've ever been. Because now they can focus on growing as a unit.
Yeah, that Canadian pickup, we all looked at the time, one of the biggest roster moves that we've had in recent times, and we all thought that is a marathon pickup, not a sprint.
Yeah, that is something where you bring a player of that history, that caliber, and that kind of coordination to a team like SSG, you know, it becomes more Dream Team-esque. And I guess it's a fair thing about a lot of these NA teams now. The roster changes that have been made, especially in the recent swing, including the bringing in of Slashug and these kind of older veteran players to young upstart teams, just shows that the diversity of the region is growing and growing. In not only number, but sheer power, as they've demonstrated in this tournament. 6-5 we sit on. SSG, as you said, well, they were in a 6-2 lead, and it slipped through their fingers round by round, body by body.
So, blue bar is where we will try and decide this final round of regular time on. SSG, they've won it once, they've lost it once, and of course that loss was quite recent in that last round. Rex against Canadian looks to be the first gunfight. Still a Seafair? C4? Seafair. S-E-A-F-A-I-R. What's a Seafair? You've been to Seafair?
No, but your seafaring is when you go towards the sea.
And a C4 is whenever you blow someone up.
Yeah, which we see a lot in NA, and I'm kind of hoping we see a little bit more. Rexon is trying to apply some pressure on the blue bar window. Doodle is trying to apply some on the hookah bar above, and this is a bit of coordination from Luminosity that has kind of played into the favor of the guns that they have been able to bring. Hyena holding long angles, and you can see Slash is trying to find close ones as he looks for footprints that might force the players out. Unfortunately, a little bit of a misplay there. Shot the drone. At least it wasn't another player dead by the hands or grenades of the players of Luminosity.
Already half the round gone, and Luminosity have only just realized, oh, it's clear. Falls of a C4 doesn't catch anything, and really NA has been very hit or miss today with these C4s. They either make a massive impact, or it just looks very disappointing. This time for Spacestation, they are defending in towards the kitchen. Last time, no, really, for Luminosity, it was a bit of like a whim. One of those rush plays again, where they seen the opportunity to go for the plant. They stuck it, similar to what they kind of attempted in the first round of their attack, whenever they went for that kitchen rush. Spacestation haven't lost anybody yet, and that's probably the main key for them. Spacestation want to keep everybody alive until the final second, because they know they have the refrags, and if we have anything to go off, look, Luminosity have looked weak with getting those trades. SSG, they've looked phenomenal.
Well, Thinking Nate is still trying to hold down on the opposite side. Make sure no one comes in. They've done enough to force everybody pretty much outside of Sunrise. The only man still standing is Bosco. But what a man to still be in the bar. Actually creeps in closer to be a bit more aggressive as they try and stop the plant going down. But it's Bosco that gets taken by Doodle, and Factor finds one, but Rampy and Fultz and Hyena find ones of their own. Suddenly a 3 versus 2 with a cold diffuser dug in a corner, and a huge amount of work for Luminosity. Factor is on the floor. He's being picked up, but there is no time to do it. Rampy is all that can hold on to this. Finds one as Stokeby goes round, has to get the kill, but can't! Luminosity! 6 overtime! Can you believe it?
Oh, Rampy. It looked as if he was going to pull off yet again another upset for Luminosity, but we go the full distance into the regular time. Overtime it is. SSG. Flick. I said choke. I said choke.
You did.
I said it.
I know you did.
I knew it.
And I said I didn't want it to happen. That was my comment. I didn't say they did it often. I didn't say they didn't do it at all. I said I didn't want it to happen. Rampy is trying his hardest to make it not happen. 16 bodies dropped. We've seen a lot of huge frag numbers this entire tournament.
It's been crazy, and I think that's just down to the whole momentum swing. Like, I can't believe how many matches we've seen be sealed up by one team. It looked as if they were going to get an easy map, and then a comeback out of nowhere. It has been insane for that caliber, this event.
Yeah, and you know, it's all the cameras have kind of shown it's surprisingly warm in the studios out here in Split and in Split in general, and the studios are showing a lot of us kind of suffering the heat, but I think that's more the stress of these games that we've all kind of gone through as casters and players and observers, probably medics as well. Again, can't give them a shout out enough. And OT on Coastline. That's not a sight I expected, and probably a lot of others expected to see 4 rounds ago.
SSG, they will get the defense, though, for their possible 2 rounds that they may have to play in the defense. Luminosity, though, they're on the attack. This could be the big decider, because if SSG then finally wake up and they break this curse of not being able to defend anymore, then they get to go on the attack, where, again, they took a 4-2 split as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. For all the compliments we've given about SSG's defense, it's really hard to pinpoint what's going wrong, because in a weird way, what we need to pinpoint and how much Luminosity have shown up. What they've been able to bring to not only a map, but a game series where they just looked lost in the water has been such a good turn of force. And in a weird way, SSG starting on the defense, even though it's Coastline, is not a great thing for them. And I say even though it's Coastline, because usually you would say it's not good to be on the defense for a lot of teams. For them, doubly so, because it's just not played into their favor, and it keeps them on this negative momentum roll where they've dropped 4 rounds in a row, and they've in a weird way looked progressively more disheartened, even though it's come close to the wire, as we just saw. Luminosity with 1:30 on the board. No one has dropped yet. There's an echo on the board for the side of SSG, which is probably worth paying attention to, because maybe they're going to rely on a little bit more kind of off-point play and a bit more on-point cover.
No smoke, though, which is probably the main worry for me, because Luminosity, even at times, they've looked pretty risky with getting their plants down, and I think just having the smoke is that clutch factor. We know how strong that operator is with the combination of its utility, along with the outright gun kit. You have the shotgun, which can kill anybody at close range, in the SMG-11 to deal with the longer engagements. That's why smoke has always been one of the most stable and most popular operators that we have in competitive play.
Well, Bosco is going to get a little bit closer to the fire here as he jumps into hookah. Slash, however, is going to make sure that he gets burnt for his troubles, and Rexon finds faults. There's another one for Rexon, almost finds another on the Cool Vibe stairs, but the plant is going down. A 5 versus 1. Rampy completely overwhelmed by Luminosity. For the first time in a very long time, Luminosity are in the point lead.
Since round number 3. Since 10 rounds ago, they've always been on the back foot. And now they take a match point lead. And we have a switch. We have SSG on the attack, Luminosity on the defense. Kitchen is where we head. This was the 3rd round for Luminosity. We only seen them defend it the 1 time, and it was a Luminosity win.
Well, let's see if they can double down on that. Bringing a similar lineup to what they had before. We pointed out Mira is on the board. This is often where she's going to get picked. Baits it against an Echo, but if I'm honest, they're probably not too concerned about that. The Echo play has been a bit of a problem in this kind of matchup before, but mainly not in Luminosity's hands. At the same time, Hyena on the Mozzie allows them that portable information, and, well, let's go back to their defenses. They weren't fantastic, but the Luminosity energy that they had then is in another world, and the Luminosity energy that we have now is off every chart and scale imaginable.
Okay, Kitchen, here we go. Luminosity bringing in that mirror, where they, of course, can have their top floor hold, and quite similar to what we even see from a Penthouse Theater bomb site. And we never really see that be touched ever in competitive play, simply because Mira is always the go-to ban for a lot of the teams. They don't want to play against that because Mira makes that bomb site viable. Without those mirrors, Penthouse and Theater becomes 50 times harder than what you would originally. Honestly, it is weird that we don't even see any Penthouse in Fear, but probably because it isn't meta, teams probably don't practice with it anyway.
I mean, I guess that's the fair kind of balance there. Is we often talk about, well, why aren't they playing with this operator when the operator is on the table? It's because they practice without it. That operator style becomes their back point. And, you know, it becomes a plan B where you don't really want to change to it. At the same time, you know, when things are going, when you can be a bit creative and you might be able to push them off and play against them, maybe that's when you want to shake stuff up. Maybe that's when you want to try these out there strategies and try something that you would otherwise not quite bring to a table that is, for all intents and purposes, been flipped by Luminosity.
Another very slow pace start of the round, and minute gone. SSG again just getting their bearings, figuring out the weak points of the Luminosity defense, and waiting to pounce. Wild Tiger in the grass, hunting its prey. They'll take their time with it. Maestro turret gone, so that's good information that Luminosity really rely on right away. Gone. I think now for Luminosity, they need to start thinking about getting some people rotated into positions that hasn't been droned out by SSG. You know, I think the guys in towards the top floor, this is probably where they start opening up in towards VIP. Try and take control of that. Utilize some shotguns that you have up there to create these holes if we do see a push come in from the A-bomb site, which I know at the moment for SSG it still could be on, but they're kind of spread out. They're figuring out where they want to go. Canadian, as you can see, was like, I'm going to go window. Nope. Back we come in towards the service. Factor, what a kill on the Canadian. Just a little pop-up. Diffuser cold on the ground. Another one for Factor. Luminosity pushing this all the way.
Wow. Wow. What a turn this game has taken. Rampy is able to find one on the back side. Takes control of main lobby, but Rexon is on the shoulder, but it doesn't matter. There's also a run out that gets taken care of too. SSG. They've taken control of this by Luminosity just throwing themselves into this game and throwing it away. Doodle at least finds one to bring it back into a 2 versus 1 situation. They've got 10 seconds. They're going for the defuse. The angle's covered, and SSG, we are going to maximum OT.
Oh, Luminosity, you did so well up until that jump out from the double window. So questionable. It's just that everything was there. You had the 2 opening kills into a 3v5. I don't know anymore, Fluke.
I don't think anyone knows. Not even the Reddit analysts know. Not even...
What about Twitch analysts? Are they not
Twitch
pretty
analysts, good? I don't know if what they know. Dino from the man behind
20
us,
kills, there's a 20 bomb.
He might know.
Look at Rampy. The only player in 14 rounds on his team who has not only broke double figures, but into the 20 if double figures.
Yeah, it's like Rampy has been so good this game. So consistent, so aggressive. He's finding body after body. And at that point, you kind of look at the rest of the guys. You look over your shoulder, you look on the backpack, where you've got all 4 of them sat, and you say, come on, please.
Somebody take a turn.
Somebody take a turn. One more round is all that might separate Luminosity from going home, or might separate us from seeing the 3rd map. In a weird way, it's down to SSG. And SSG to find what they had in the first 2 rounds of their defense and then otherwise completely dropped. Luminosity, you made a couple of mistakes in the previous round, but you opened it well. You can find your way onto this 3rd map. If you don't, in those cursed words inside Siege, over-rotate, overextend, overcompensate, and, well, make this game over before it should.
If anybody still questions about Coastline and attacker favored, in 14 rounds we've had 4 defensive round wins and 10 attacker side wins. Massive figures. So by that statistics, we go map number 3 then, Fluke.
By those statistics, yes. and it's down to SSG to prove statistics wrong, because sometimes science lies. Rexon, a player who's had some ups, and not many of them, unfortunately, is looking to try and swing in aggressively at the end of this game. Slash, who has been a consistent up for the team of Luminosity, is looking to try and take control of the feet the way he did before. This became a very tight fight previously, and I think it's a bit of a smart move for the return down below in blue, because it came down to a bit of a pistol showdown. They've gone with a bit more of a solid hold to what Luminosity tried to attack previously, and well, let's see if it stumbles a team that has sometimes been quite creative in its aggression, like a Picasso made of blood.
One of the best references I think you've put out all tournament so far. Oh, Luminosity, they once again have control of that top four. They will try and utilize the effective slash and that sidearm shotgun. And again, accompanied with the Jackal pings that you can also gain, does make for a bit of an annoyance factor that SSG will have to deal with. So Luminosity more than likely will pressure in towards the B like they have done previously. They have secured in behind the back of that Sunrise bar, which is exactly where Rampy went massive in that last round. And Bosco, another C4 just being wasted. I don't know what it is today about NA. They either have some of the best C4s we have, or they just throw them away like it's nothing. Doodle, he's in the bomb site, the smokes have missed, he's starting to stick it, all the cover is there. The final Toxic Babe gets tossed in, he's taking a lot of damage, but he makes it happen. No, he doesn't, it gets shot down. Fultz manages to have the peak, but still 2 kills come in from Luminosity to make up for it. Finkinade and Rampy have to go big, holding on the blue stairs. Finkinade, oh, a great shot. Factor, his head goes off, and Rampy's still alive. He's the man who makes the clutches. He's the man who can pull this in for SSG. Hyena picks up the diffuser, has to go for the plant. 15 seconds to go. Rampy now creeps on in towards blue bar. Slash still above. Rexon jumps in towards Sunrise. They line up for him. Rampy falls. Finkinade in the post plant. A 1v3. Luminosity, they scour away. They're out of there. They know they have the diffuser. They know they can do this. There has been a down on the Slash. Hyena, Rexon. Both of them so passive. Finkinade goes to the jump out. There's Ash. She was on her drone. Now 1v1 Hyena versus Finkinade. Half of the timer still there. Finkinade, can you make this happen? Another run out. He goes for Beno. Hyena, he makes it happen. What a game from Luminosity. What a comeback.
Luminosity, from nowhere you bring everything, and it is so good to see, to experience, and that is a team that does not want to stop. That is a team that is the young gunners, that is the future of this game, the future of NA's game, the future of Siege, maybe the future of this tournament. We still have one more map to work that out. And, you know, it's one of those games, it puts you a little bit beyond words.
Honestly, I think I need to take some time off to get some words. I think we have to go find them, Fluke. And you guys, you need to go find yourself something. Get some drink, get some snacks. One more map to go. We'll see you after the break.